Now, the Premier League continues with matches. It seems like every day, but certainly plenty of games. 25 games have been played now in this very strange season for the Premier League. There was not much of a pre-season, not much of a break for the players. The injury tolls are really heavy, and it isn't just for the champions Liverpool, who won't be retaining their championship, but for many other clubs as well. And the lesser clubs down the league are particularly stricken by injuries when they get them, because they don't have the depth in their squad. We're joined now by John Giles to look back at the weekend's games. And John, it is fair to say, is it not, that this, the smaller clubs, the Crystal Palaces, Burnleys, Newcastle, Fulham, West Brom, Sheffield United, the toll and injuries can take on clubs like that is really severe. We all focus on Liverpool and hear about Liverpool's woeful injury list. But if you're Sheffield United, for example, where John Egan is out for 2 months now, it's totally demoralising and crippling.
It's very, very difficult for them, Eamon. The only thing to say is they're all in the same boat. I know you're talking about the teams at the lower end who don't have the big squads, unfortunately. But the alternative is worse, Eamon, is if there's no football, it's even worse. Yes. I do feel sorry for them, and there's no doubt about that, because the more games you're going to play in a short period of time, you're bound to get injuries. It's inevitable. And it's unfortunate for them, but I think funny enough, I haven't heard any of them, sort of moaning about it in any way, because I think they realise the alternative is that we're not going to be playing at all.
Yeah, the only complaint from the clubs down the bottom, and clubs who don't have big money, is there was a proposal, which I kind of supported at the time without thinking it through. The big clubs wanted 5 substitutions as opposed to the 3 that are generally allowed. The smaller clubs disputed that, and the Premier League, to be fair to them, agreed that 5 subs wouldn't be permitted, only 3 subs, which the small clubs or lesser clubs or less wealthy clubs, let's call them that, it helps them a bit. But in one game in particular last night, I know you watched it, I watched it myself, Manchester United and Newcastle, John. Steve Bruce, who I think is someone we both admired him as a player, admire him as a man in a very difficult job. Newcastle have had a horrendous list of injuries. They were beaten 3-1 by Manchester United. They did their very best. In fact, I thought they did very well for quite some time in the game.
Yeah. Well, they did well, Eamon, to keep in it, but so once United got in front, they had nothing to come back with. And you're right. I mean, yes. the injuries, and there was a proposal by the bigger clubs, because they have the bigger teams.
Yeah, bigger benches.
The bigger teams have bigger squads. So the 5 could go do well for them with the subs, but it certainly didn't suit the smaller clubs who didn't have the quality on the subs bench. I mean, so it's very, very difficult. But Manchester United, they got on top of Newcastle eventually, and ran out easy winners. It's very difficult for Steve Bruce. He's having a difficult time, and as you say, I think he's well admired. I like him anyway. I think you like him, and
I do very much.
He has a difficult job, and the crowd are not behind him. And they didn't want him to start with. But he does the best, and he's going down and down and down. He's getting nearer that relegation spots, and I watched Fulham as well.
He's 3 points ahead of Fulham. He's 3 points ahead of Fulham, John. So he's looking into the abyss.
Down. Yeah, and Fulham are coming on, Eamon. Scott Parker is doing a really good job there. And they're playing well, and they're playing better than Newcastle are playing anyway at the moment. So I think Steve could be in big trouble by the end of the season, unfortunately.
Yeah, just to look at the top of the table, Manchester City are 10 points clear of Manchester United and Leicester, who both have 49 points. City have 59 points. They got a goal in the second minute against Arsenal away, John City, and that was the end of the scoring. Just to say, for the record, John, I didn't give City a prayer a couple of months ago. I thought they'd gone backwards. But
and I did as well, Eamon. I did as well.
Yeah, we were wrong. Yeah, and we were, this is a great achievement by Guardiola. He has revitalised John Stones and made him into what he, a very good central defender, which he should be. The money paid for Stones was a record for a centre-half in an English transfer. He's brought in Diaz, who I thought looked like a bit of a donkey for the first few weeks. He's very good now. And he's had his injury woes too. Aguero, for example, hasn't played very much recently. And he's had other injuries to deal with. But they now look a formidable machine like they were 2 years ago.
Yeah, I watched the match yesterday, Eamon. As you know, they scored early on, and were on top of it. But they always looked. I didn't think that they were as impressive yesterday as they have been in recent weeks. They still gave Arsenal a chance because they didn't put them away, And as the game went on, Arsenal didn't start very well, then got better and better because they knew they were limited. They didn't put them away when they were on top. But they got the 3 points, but they weren't as impressive as they have been in recent weeks.
No, De Bruyne has been out injured, and he came back yesterday, played for half an hour before he was substituted. They brought on Gabriel Jesus. Raheem Sterling scored the goal, a header, a bloody good header, John. And I never really thought of Raheem Sterling as someone who'd be climbing at the far post and putting it away, but he did, and he did it really well.
Yeah. Well, you'd have to look at. I think Arteta would look at his defenders there, Eamon. I think there was 3 of them around him, and there was nobody getting in a position to even challenge him for the ball. So it was a poor goal to give away from Arsenal's point of view. But I mean, that's good luck to Sterling. He took advantage of it and took it well. I never fancied him as a header of the ball, but he did that. He did that particularly well at that stage, very early on in the game.
I don't think either of us ever fancied West Ham being fourth in the table, John, and in a Champions League place at the moment by 2 points from Chelsea. And I think both of us admire David Moyes for the work he did at Everton. Going to Manchester United he was nominated really by Alex Ferguson to be Ferguson's successor. And that didn't work out. And it was rather sad. He wasn't given any chance or any time. He was less than a year there. And that really, after all the great work he'd done at Everton over the years and the great respect he commanded in the game, was sad. And it looked for a while as if he'd struggle in management. But now he's built a team of sorts at West Ham, led, I have to say, very effectively by Declan Rice, who is one great player, John, isn't he? What a loss to us, Eamon. I think he's the best all-round midfield player in the Premiership, Eamon. And David Moyes has done a terrific job with them. It's amazing, really, because at West Ham a couple of years ago, they sacked him, Eamon. And brought Village in, and then brought him back again. So he's had to... He's had to work at it, and I think he's that type of individual where he's down to earth, no nonsense with him, gets on with the job, and insists that the players play and give the best they possibly can. So they've done extremely well. I thought Spurs played better, Eamon, than the score suggested. Actually, it's the best I've seen them play for a few weeks. We were talking during the match. Yeah. It's the best I've seen them play now for a few weeks. It was better than the score suggested. I think it went West Ham's way, and good luck to them. But I thought Spurs played better or showed more at the weekend than I've seen them for a few weeks, Eamon. Yeah. One of the things that David Moyes has done at West Ham, John, he's got in good pros like Dawson, centre half. He's been around. He's been in the Championship. He's a very, very experienced and good and reliable player. Got Declan Rice, of course, which is really the Martin O'Neill, Roy Keane era. If it cost us something dramatic, and I think it did, it was Rice who witnessed a row on the training ground and ran out of there. You know, we could have played him at any stage, we didn't. But they have a fella called Bowen, who I know you like, is a worker.
Yeah.
Suchek is a worker. And this fellow up front, Antonio, is some machine.
Well, he's made a huge difference. He's terrific, Eamon.
Yes.
And I think he was just played out of position there. I think, luckily enough, David Moyes gave him a chance up front, because they used to play him wide, wide on the right or wide on the left, and that wasn't his position. So he's made a huge difference to them. Of course, they've got Lingard in, who's done a job for them as well. Eamon scored a good goal at the weekend.
Scored again yesterday. Yeah.
Now, I don't know the right back's name, Eamon, but he's a terrific player. Is that
very,
his name?
very good.
I know they got him from abroad
Yeah.
somewhere. And he's absolutely brilliant. He gets on with the job. There's no fuss about him. Does all the right things. Defends well. Gets forward well. Really, really top-class player. And I think that's typical of what Moyes has done. He hasn't spent a lot of money, as we know. But he's built a team there that's got up to, fourth place in the league, whereas people would say at the start of the season, I'm sure West Ham players, if we avoid relegation and get halfway up, they'd be pleased. But so he's done a spectacular job in getting them where they are.
By getting rid of all the villains, John. They had a lot of villains. This was guys who weren't trying, John.
Yeah. Well, that's the big thing, Eamon, when you come into any club, is to get the bad guys out and get the good guys in, and be able to spot them. That's the big thing, Eamon.
Yes.
And I think that's exactly what he's done. These guys are having a go. All of them are having a go for him.
Now, speaking about little clubs who have injury crisis and don't have the squads they need, Leeds. They played Wolves. They lost 1-0, John, which was actually quite valiant in its own way. But they never really looked like winning the game, did they?
No, they played well, Eamon. The goal against them was a most unusual goal where Priori hit a shot, hit the bar or the crossbar, and came back and hit the goalkeeper. They didn't have the finishing aspect of the game that's needed. But in the general game now against Arsenal last week in the first half, they were terrible. They picked it up in the second half, but that wasn't the case again. I thought they played in general play. Yeah, they definitely deserved to draw in the game.
Yeah, and there's no way they're going down, John, I don't think. They've got 32 points, usually 40's enough, and they've got a game in hand of some of the teams around them as well. Yeah. So there's no way they're going down. It would be great to see, I mean, you said last week you'd love to see Bielsa managing Manchester United. It would be great to see somebody with the financial firepower going into Leeds, because with the crowds they can generate there and the interest, they really are a sleeping giant, aren't they? If the money was, if they bought some top players or could get at some top players.
Yeah, there's always talk about somebody taking over from them, and it hasn't happened. But he's done a great job doing what he's done, because he spent very, very little money. Mostly the same players that he took over. Yeah. And it's a sign of a manager. That's what I was on about Manchester United. Look what he's taken over and where they are, which means he's done a really top-class job. And I think if he had the players that Manchester United have at his disposal, I think he'd be sensational with them. But anyway, that's another day's work. But I think they're okay, Eamon. I think at the start of the season, I said they'll win matches you wouldn't expect them to win. They'll lose matches you wouldn't expect them to lose. Right. I think around the halfway mark, about where they are at the moment, I think that's where they'll finish. They are capable of winning matches. And they were a little bit unlucky against Wolves the other day.
Just a word
to be safe enough. To be safe enough, I think, Eamon.
Yeah, just a word on Patrick Bamford. He's been around a while. He was at Middlesbrough. I think he qualifies to play for Ireland. He's not a player either you or I don't think have ever thought too much of, with all due respect to him. He scored 12 goals in the Premier League this year, John. And I've been surprised, but this coach is getting the best there is out of him.
Oh, definitely, Eamon. And I mean, he's had about 7 or 8 clubs or more.
Yep.
Without really doing anything. I thought at the start of the season, if he scored 10 goals in the season, it's as much as I thought he'd score.
Yeah.
So he's done really, really exceptionally well. And he did score a goal against Wolves. He was just offside.
Yes.
And it was a terrific finish.
Yep.
So he's maybe he's been kidding us all these years, Eamon, that he really can do. But there again, it's Bielsa getting the best out of him.
Yes.
Which he is. And but his goal scoring stuff has been amazing. I think it's amazed a lot of people, but I'm totally amazed that he scored as many goals as he already has.
I am too. He doesn't have really the physical presence you'd expect of a centre forward. He doesn't look robust enough, but he does get into. Well, he obviously gets into good positions, and he's getting into them this year. And he has a bit of talent, all right. So keep going, Patrick, and don't mind your critics.
Yeah.
Now, John. Liverpool and Everton, I must say, Everton, they really deserve their win. And I was very, very pleased for a couple of people. One, for Ancelotti, who I have huge admiration for.
Yeah.
Secondly, for Seamus Coleman, who I have almost as much admiration for. He's a fantastic pro. And after the game, Duncan Ferguson, who's a legend at Everton for his escapades as a player and a character off the pitch, I think, gave Seamus a big hug. But so did Ancelotti, who's usually deadpan, but he made a point after the game of going to Seamus and hugging him and really smiling and looking at him with deep respect. And Ancelotti is a great coach. He was a great player. He's seen a lot in the game. But something about Coleman has touched him in a certain way, and it's not hard to understand, is it?
No, I think he's touched everybody. I mean,
yes.
I know you think the world of him. I think the world of him as well. I think he's great, lad. There's sort of an innocence about him that's really, really appealing. He's out there, he's doing his best, never thinks about himself, gets on with the job. And he's a model pro. He's somebody that, as a manager, you'd want in the dressing room, in the team, to do all the things that he does. I think he's great. And when you consider him, he had a very, very bad injury a couple of years ago. When he broke his leg.
Yes.
And he's come back and he's as good as I think he's terrific. He never gives anything but an honesty of effort on the pitch. That's your starting point as a professional footballer. And no wonder he hugs him. I'd be hugging him every day.
And he's a really good defender, great defender's instincts, and he's really good when he can get forward. And he almost scored a goal, flying header on Saturday. Yeah. And he in his interview after the match, he pointed out that the task Ancelotti had set him on Saturday was to take care of Robertson.
Robertson,
Andy Robertson, Liverpool's raiding fullback, and he did that. And it got to they kind of played 5 at the back, Everton, and it got to the tactical element in the game and what Ancelotti brings. They did neutralise Robertson. They didn't successfully neutralise Trent Alexander, who I thought had a good game, a better game than he's had in the past. But Liverpool, this centre-half, they brought in, John, Kabak. They brought him in from Schalke. Schalke have 9 points and are bottom of the Bundesliga. Now, this was a punt, a gamble, which really you'd have to question the people who sanctioned that. If it was Jurgen Klopp's to blame, or if it was Fenway Sports to own Liverpool, bringing in a player as poor as this fella really is not the way champions should think, is it, John?
No, I don't think Klopp has been in charge of that at all, Eamon. And they also got another centre-half in for 1.5
from Preston,
million. From Preston.
Yes.
I mean, this is telling you, what I'd say Klopp went to them and said, look, we need a couple of defenders.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we'll get them for you. but we're not going to be spending a lot of money on it. Because they'd be thinking, we spent a lot of money now, and Van Dijk comes back and Gomez come back, then we spent a lot of money for nothing. That's the way I think that they're thinking. I think Klopp would be totally disappointed, to say the least, Eamon.
That they didn't go and buy.
What he's done.
Yeah, but there's a guy in Naples, Koulibaly, they might have bought. There were suggestions they were interested in him. But they also have two players. I mean, Phillips, who's the guy who came on in the end, he's on the books. He's a better player than Kabak. Kabak's played 3 games. He's been booked 3 times. He's looked hopeless. He can't run. And on Saturday, they gave a goal up after 3 minutes. Richarlison scored it from a very good pass from James Rodriguez. Who's at fault? Kabak, who was ball watching. So it's they've tried to be sort of penny pinching, but they're not pound wise, because Liverpool now will have to work extremely hard to get the Champions League place. And if they don't get that Champions League place, you're looking at a loss minimum 50 million. Yeah,
well, they don't think in a big way. I mean, well, we're assuming that is the case. I can't see. I really can't see Klopp buying the 2 players that he's bought. He'd want a really good player, Eamon, out there to do his stuff in the Liverpool team. Yeah. And this is definitely money pinch. There's definitely no doubt about that. And I'd say, don't forget, the players pick that up as well.
Yes.
I mean, the players that they have. You talk about morale.
Yep.
It's very hard to define morale. And I think from Klopp's point of view, I'd say he's unbelievably disappointed, Eamon, and might be shown that with the players. You just don't know. But what we do know is these are not Liverpool. The 2 players that they bought. Now, I'm not fair on the lad from Prescott, because I haven't seen him. But I would agree with you on Kabak. The 3 matches playing, he doesn't look up to it.
No.
And that's not fair on Klopp and what he's done for the club. He should be in charge of that situation and say, this is what I want, this is what I need. And they said they did buy a top-class centre-half, Eamon.
Yeah. Well,
and the other lads came back. They could always sell them out again,
Yeah, I mean, well, one thing...
That's carrying it a bit far, but...
There's a couple of things that should be said in that regard, John. First of all, Joe Gomez is injury-prone. He's had a few bad injuries in his career. And so is Matip. Matip is the other central defender who's missing. Now, he is very injury-prone, John. In fact, the injury that has him out at the moment looked nothing. So, just to come back to something you said there about the effect on players in the club, like the great players, and they've a number of them, starting with Virgil van Dijk, Andy Robertson, Jordan Henderson, fantastic players. They really are. And, well, the list is almost endless. Salah, Firmino, Mane. Now, maybe if they see... What makes me think Klopp might have a hand in this, John, is the player came from Germany, came from Schalke. So there's an obvious Klopp connection there. But if Virgil van Dijk could go to any club in the world and he's at Liverpool, it might raise a little question mark in his mind. No?
About?
Well, about the club. If they're penny pinching at this stage...
There's no doubt, Eamon. There's no doubt. I mean, he's done a terrific job for the club. And there's no doubt that the club should say to him, OK, we're in a difficult situation. What do we need?
Yeah.
We don't know for sure, but that's definitely not what happened.
No.
I mean, there's no way that Klopp would buy these 2 particular players at the standard of the club that Liverpool are at.
Yeah.
No way, Eamon. This is penny pinching.
Yeah.
This is coming from people who are thinking about money and what it might cost us if we buy these top players. In other words, we'll have too many good players and look at the money that we spend. Not realising that they're losing money week by week now.
Yeah.
And as you say, if they don't qualify for the Champions League, if they don't, for some reason, I think they will, but if they don't, then what about all the penny pinching?
Yep.
What they'll do then is blame Klopp.
Now, I want to go finally, John, to Leicester, who had another good result, 2-0 away to Villa. And Brendan Rodgers, really good coach. I think we both agree on that. A real good coach. He improves players. And he's got this lad Barnes, the left-sided attacker, really scored.
Yeah.
And I want to ask about Maddison, John, who also scored. He's in the England squad. A lot of people are very impressed by him. I'm kind of impressed by him. He's a very, very good footballer. He's a cool dude. He can see a pass and he can score a goal. What do you make of him?
Yeah, you have to live with him, Eamon.
Yeah.
You know, I think I wouldn't be putting my life on him.
Right.
I think he's talented. He plays in a position that's not midfield, sort of, they call it the false nine now, or whatever the blooming hell they call it.
Yeah.
So he's in a position where he's not responsible. He doesn't have any real responsibility except to be scoring goals, which is hugely important, as we know.
Yeah.
But he'd wanted an awful lot of players around him to get the best out of him. I don't think he's going to get the best of players around him.
Yeah, he's a good footballer, John.
Goals,
he's a good footballer.
That's doing the job. No.
He's a good footballer.
Oh, he's talented. He's talented, Eamon, and he's talented at doing what he's doing, which is scoring important goals.
Yeah.
But
he won't be doing the donkey work.
But he won't be doing the donkey work. No. But that's where Brandon is doing well. I mean, Brandon can live with him because he has people doing the donkey work. That's a team. That's getting the balance.
Yeah.
And he does his stuff for them in that respect.
And one of the guys who does the donkey work is Ndidi in midfield. He's a smashing. He covers the ground. A real good player. He reminds me of our friend N'Golo Kante, who's at Chelsea now, has been left on the bench by this Thomas Tuchel. He did start on Saturday, but there's a shadow over Kante. He was on the bench last week. And this fella, Thomas Tuchel, is the guy who replaces Frank Lampard. Now, he got sacked by PSG, and he comes from Germany he came from Germany originally with a big reputation. I think he's going to struggle. Chelsea won the first 4 games he was there. They drew 1-1 with Southampton at the weekend, but I don't think it's a happy camp. This fella, Hudson-Odoi, that they've been talking about for centuries, he's only 19, but he's the new Pele. He's hopeless, John. They pulled him off after 31 minutes. He'd come on the sub, Eamon. Yeah.
He'd come on the sub, and then he subbed him.
Yeah.
Now, it's difficult to know whether that is the right thing to do or not.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think what he did at Paris Saint-Germain, I don't think he's changed his policy. I think that's the way he was.
Yeah.
Now, there's 2 things can happen. The players that he has there, the influential players, could take the side of the player and go against him, or they could say, yeah, you're right.
Yes, yep.
Right.
Yep.
Now, only time will tell if that's going to be the case, Eamon. We don't know, because with some players it can work, with a lot of players it doesn't work. So if they say, no, we're not having that, or they say, yeah, that was the right thing to do, only time will tell. But that's the chance he's taken. Obviously, that's his personality. I think that's the way he's worked. And I must say, they're looking at Paris Saint-Germain last year when they were in the Champions League situation.
Yeah.
He had definitely had improved them.
Right. Now, just one other point about Chelsea. Alonso is back in the side. He's a player I've always liked. Very good left back, gets the odd goal, good dead ball. But Frank Lampard bombed Alonso out, and he bought Ben Chilwell from Leicester, who I think is a super player, and I'm pretty sure you do as well, because we've talked about him. I thought that was, of all the players they brought in the summer, John, I think Chilwell may well be the only one that Frank actually wanted. He's been bombed out by the new coach. He's on the bench, and Alonso's back in. So the politics of football clubs sometimes get in the way. Well, they always get in the way, don't they?
Well, if it's his choice, I think that would be his choice, Eamon.
Yeah.
To have Alonso win. I think Chilwell is probably the best left back
Yes,
in the Premier League.
Yep.
In England.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think he's a terrific player.
Yeah.
Now, to put Alonso in is I know Alonso will score more goals. I mean, just scored a few goals, probably more than Chilwell. But if you're looking at he'd cost more goals.
Right.
than Chilwell. I think Chilwell is terrific. He defends well. He gets forward well. I think he's the best left back. They paid a lot of money for him.
Yep.
And I think it was a very, very good buy. So I'd be very, very surprised at that. And I think, again, players in the club and the team would be surprised at it as well. It's touch and go. I mean, we'll have to keep, which we will, a careful eye on what he's going to do. Certainly at Paris Saint-Germain, I thought he did a big job. He really improved that team.
Yeah.
So, but he's going to be a hard nut.
Okay.
You know, he's going to have to win the players with a hard nuts approach to what he's doing.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay, John, it's always great to talk to you on a Monday and during the weekend, and to get your tips, which we might start selling at some stage if the money runs out. That's John Giles, a great player and, of course, a great analyst. And we're lucky to have John, and we're very grateful to him.